Okay, let's do our deep dive today into Nehemiah chapter 4.
Right.
Our plan is really to unpack the challenges they faced rebuilding Jerusalem's wall in this chapter.
It's pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, and pull out some key insights, about perseverance, leadership, handling opposition, things that still hit home.
Absolutely. So the scene is set, right? The work's actually started. People are mobilized.
The rebuilding is underway. You can almost picture the dust and noise.
Exactly. They're clearing rubble, hauling stones. Things are happening. But progress like that, it gets noticed.
And not always in a good way, it seems.
Not here.
The text gets right into it, doesn't it? The external opposition. And it starts with, well, mockery.
Yeah, classic tactic, ridicule.
Yeah.
We hear about Sanballat as he's a key opponent. When he hears the Jews are actually rebuilding, he's not just annoyed. The text says he was furious and greatly incensed.
Wow, strong words.
And he doesn't keep it private. He mocks them publicly in front of his friends, the army of Samaria. It's a performance.
Yeah, calculated humiliation. And those insults, they're really specific, aren't they? Designed to undermine everything.
Oh, completely. He throws out questions like, what are those feeble Jews doing?
Feeble, ouch.
Right. Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? It's just relentless.
He even mocks the materials. Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble burned as they are? It hits their strength, their faith, their resources, their timeline, everything.
It's like psychological warfare 101. Plant doubt, make them feel small, make the task seem hopeless.
And then Tobiah chimes in, too.
Ah, yes, Tobiah. He adds that infamous line, something like, what they are building, if even a fox climbed up on it, he would break down their wall of stones.
So basically calling their work flimsy, pathetic, easily destroyed.
Exactly. Like saying your big project is so weak, the slightest pressure will make it collapse. It's designed to demoralize.
Okay, so facing that kind of public shaming,
Right?
how did the builders react? Did they, shout back? Or...
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Their first move isn't a verbal counterattack.
No.
No. The text says, hear us, O our God, for we are despised. They take it straight to prayer.
Acknowledging the hurt, we are despised, but appealing upwards.
Precisely. Asking God to handle it, rather than getting into a shouting match themselves. It's this prayer-first idea.
Okay, prayer first. But did praying mean stopping the work? Did the insults work in that sense? Did they slow down?
And that's the next key point. Despite the mockery, despite being called feeble, the work didn't stop.
It kept going.
Yes, the source is clear. So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height. Progress continued.
Half its height, even with all that negativity.
And the reason given? For the people worked with all their heart. Their internal drive, their commitment, it was stronger than the external scorn.
That's incredible resilience, working with passion under fire.
It really is. It suggests, resilience isn't just gritting your teeth, it's continuing the actual work with heart.
But words, sometimes they're just the start, right? Threats can escalate.
They often do, and that's exactly what happened here. The enemy saw ridicule wasn't enough. They saw the wall actually going up, reaching half height, the gaps closing.
So the visible progress just made them angrier.
Exactly. It provoked a stronger reaction, and the opposition grew. It wasn't just Sanballat and Tobiah anymore. Now the Arabs, the Ammonites, the men of Ashdod, they all joined in.
A wider coalition forming because the project was succeeding. That's telling.
It really is. Progress often lights the biggest fires under your opponents. The text says, they all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it.
Wow. So it moves from mockery to actual military plotting, a plan for violence.
Yes, a direct physical threat aimed at stopping the work by force.
Okay, so now it's not just insults, it's a united front planning an attack. How did the builders handle that? Prayer alone seems insufficient against, swords and spears.
Right. And this brings us to another crucial strategy. Let's call it the prayer and guard principle.
Prayer and guard.
Yeah. The response was both. The source says, but we prayed to our God and posted a guard day and night to meet this threat.
Ah, so not either, but both hand. Faith and practical action together.
Exactly. They trusted God, but they also took responsibility for their own defense. Round-the-clock security. It's this blend of spiritual reliance and pragmatic vigilance.
That makes a lot of sense. Prayer and guard duty, faith and practical steps. But the chapter throws in another curveball, doesn't it? Challenges within the group.
Yes, this is such a realistic detail. Just as you're managing external threats, internal problems surface.
What happened?
The builders themselves, the people of Judah, they start to voice their own struggles. They say something like, the strength of the laborers is giving out, and there is so much rubble that we cannot rebuild the wall.
Oh, man. That sounds like pure exhaustion and overwhelm, burnout.
Totally. The scale of the task, the physical toll, the endless debris, it just started to feel impossible, even to them.
It wasn't enemies saying they were weak now. It was their own feeling of limitation. The rubble within, you could say.
That's a great way to put it. Fatigue, doubt, feeling like the problem's just too big. It happens in any major effort.
And while they're struggling internally, the external threat comes back, but sharper this time.
Yes, the enemies didn't give up. They refined their plan. Now it was about a surprise attack.
Like a sneak attack.
Yeah. Their thinking was, before they know it or see us, we will be right there among them and we'll kill them and put an end to the work. Swift, brutal, decisive.
That's terrifying. And this wasn't just a secret plot. People knew.
Well, Jews living near these enemies heard about it, and they warned the builders.
Originally. How originally?
The text says, they told us 10 times over, wherever you turn, they will attack us.
10 times over. Imagine hearing that constantly. Danger everywhere. That must have just amplified the fear and the exhaustion.
Absolutely. So think about it. Armed enemies planning an ambush, warnings coming from all sides saying the threat is pervasive, and your own team is hitting the wall, feeling overwhelmed.
That's a nightmare scenario for any leader. How did Nehemiah handle this perfect storm? Did he change his strategy?
He did. This is where his leadership really adapts. He doesn't just issue general orders. He assesses the vulnerability of the workforce is spread out.
Right, they're exposed.
So he stations people strategically. He puts them by families at the lowest, most vulnerable points of the wall. And crucially, he arms them. Swords, spears, and bows.
By families. That makes it personal, doesn't it? Defending your own.
Exactly. It taps into that deep motivation. And then he gives that powerful speech.
Rallying cry.
Yeah. He gathers everyone, nobles, officials, the people, and speaks directly to the fear. Don't be afraid of them.
Acknowledges it head on.
Then the foundation. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. Reminding them of their ultimate source of strength.
Faith first.
But immediately followed by the tangible. And fight for your brothers, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes.
Wow. Connects faith, courage, and protecting everything they love. Powerful stuff.
It is. So they get ready to fight. What happens next? Do the enemies attack?
Well, the source says, when the enemies heard their plot was discovered that the builders knew, and interestingly, that God had frustrated it, the immediate attack didn't happen.
Ah, so the element of surprise was gone, and they saw the builders were armed and ready. Deterred them, maybe?
Seems like it. The ambush was averted.
Yeah.
For the moment.
Okay, crisis averted. So back to normal building.
No, and this is maybe the biggest shift in the chapter. The threat was still out there, so things changed fundamentally. From that day on, the text says.
A new mode of operating.
Yeah, this is where we get that striking image. Half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor.
So the workforce is literally divided. Half build, half guard. Constantly.
And the officers.
They weren't just overseeing construction anymore. They positioned themselves behind the builders, ready to support the armed half. It's this dual-focus reality. You build, but you defend simultaneously.
Actively advancing while actively protecting. And the builders themselves, the ones doing the physical labor.
They weren't left defenseless either. This is where those vivid details come in. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon in the other.
One hand for work, one for a weapon. Incredible.
Isn't it? Imagine carrying stones or mortar with one hand, gripping a spear or sword with the other. And each of the builders wore his sword at his side as he worked.
Armed while laying bricks. It just screams constant readiness. Defense integrated right into the job.
Exactly. It's a powerful visual of what was required.
And you mentioned the trumpeter stayed with Nehemiah. Why was that so important?
Right. The trumpeter wasn't just ceremonial, with workers spread out along a long wall.
An attack in one spot would need a quick response from everyone else. Communication was key.
Precisely. Nehemiah points it out. The work is extensive and spread out, and we are widely separated. So the trumpet was the signal.
The alarm bell.
Yeah. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. It was the call to rally, to converge for defense.
And again, he anchors that practical instruction with faith, right?
He does. Our God will fight for us. It reinforces the conviction behind their coordinated action. The trumpet rallies the people, but their ultimate trust is still highlighted.
So this intense system, half building, half guarding, swords at the ready, how long did this go on? Was it just for a few days?
Doesn't seem like it. The text implies this became the new normal for the duration. So we continued the work, from the first light of dawn till the stars came out. Long, hard days.
Dawn till dusk, with half the workforce essentially on armed watch.
And they even set up a nighttime protocol.
Oh.
Yeah, Nehemiah had everyone stay inside Jerusalem overnight, leaders, helpers, everyone.
Why?
So they could serve as guards by night and workmen by day. No commuting, no being caught off guard outside the walls, maximum security and efficiency.
Total commitment. Everyone on site, round the clock.
And that dedication went right to the top. Nehemiah includes himself.
How so?
There's this telling detail at the very end. Neither I nor my brothers nor my men or the guards with me took off our clothes. Each had his weapon, even when he went for water.
Wow. Didn't even take off their clothes. Or put down their weapons to get water.
That's the level of vigilance described. Continuous alert. It shows the unwavering commitment needed for this kind of high-stakes, high-pressure project.
Okay, that chapter covers a lot of ground. From mockery and scorn, all the way to building with a sword strapped to your side.
It really does.
So looking back at this whole deep dive into Nehemiah 4, what are the big takeaways, the core lessons that really stand out?
I think several things crystallize. First, just understanding the nature of opposition itself.
How it changes.
Yeah, it often starts with words, with ridicule, but then crucially, it often ramps up when you start succeeding. Progress provokes pushback.
And it can come from outside enemies and from inside, like that burnout and overwhelm, the rubble within.
Exactly. Recognizing those different forms is step one. Second, that core strategy, blending faith and action, the prayer and guard idea.
Right, not choosing one or the other.
No, integrating them.
Right.
Pray, yes, but also post the guard. Trust, absolutely, but also prepare diligently. It's practical faith.
Okay. What else?
Third, I'd say adaptive leadership is just critical. Nehemiah didn't have one static plan. He saw the threats escalating, saw the internal strain, heard the warnings.
And he changed things up, reorganized the whole operation.
Completely. He adapted the strategy to the reality on the ground, even though it meant, half the workforce wasn't directly building at any given time. That takes courage.
Yeah, acknowledging the danger and making tough calls, seeing the whole picture.
Yes. And finally, maybe that building with one hand principle, that necessity of dual focus in dangerous territory.
Meaning
Meaning when you're undertaking something significant under threat, you often have to integrate your defense right into the process of building or creating. It's not enough just to work. You have to work securely.
vigilance isn't separate from the work, it becomes part of the work.
That's it. It requires sustained effort, constant readiness, and good communication, like that trumpet signal for a spread-out team.
These lessons, they feel really relevant, don't they? Beyond just ancient history.
Oh, absolutely. Think about any big project you've ever been involved in. Starting a business, a community initiative, even a personal goal that's really challenging.
You definitely face critics, doubters.
Right. And you hit those points of exhaustion where the task feels overwhelming, like so much rubble.
And sometimes, yeah, when you actually start making headway, that's when real opposition can surface. People actively trying to hinder you.
The dynamics are strikingly similar. This chapter offers a kind of playbook, really. Resilience comes from the heart. Strategy needs both conviction and practical steps. Leadership has to adapt. And success often requires that dual focus keep building, but stay alert.
It changes how you think about getting things done. It's not always straightforward. Sometimes it's about getting things done despite the obstacles, despite the threats.
Exactly. It acknowledges that progress often requires more than just hard work. It demands courage, vigilance, and that willingness to, well, build with one hand while keeping the other ready.
This deep dive into Nehemiah 4, it really leaves you with a powerful image of resilience, doesn't it? That blend of faith, guts, and smart strategy.
It does. It shows that big achievements often happen against the odds.
Yeah.
And they demand everything: spirit, strategy, and just plain persistence.
So maybe something for you listening to think about. What kinds of walls are you building right now in your work, your life, your community? And what kind of opposition are you facing? Is it the external noise, the ridicule? Is it active hindrance? Or is it maybe that internal rubble, the fatigue, the overwhelm?
Yeah, good questions.
And thinking about Nehemiah 4, what kind of balance do you need right now between just focusing on the work, that dedication, and maintaining that readiness, that vigilance? What does your own dual focus need to look like?